Hello. I wanted to share some thoughts today about alcohol and people with dementia. And there are a lot of reasons why someone with dementia should not be consuming much alcohol and why it can be a tricky thing to navigate. I think for Momo, specifically, when she was living still by herself before we sort of realized how far along her dementia was, towards the end, it sort of came to our attention that she was drinking a bottle of wine every night. And then every day, her big outing for the day was to go to the store and buy wine and cheese and dog food. Those three things were always on her list. So her fridge was getting filled with cheese, and the poor dog was trying to keep up with all the food, and her poor brain was trying to manage her consumption. And I think around 4 p.m., when she was starting to sundown, maybe it was, as it is for a lot of people, something to do and kind of like a companion almost, right? Like, oh, I think I've gotten to the end of the day. I think I'll have a glass of wine. But she would forget that she already had a glass or two or three, and pretty soon she would, finish the bottle, which obviously was not healthy for her. And then when she would see all the bottles in the recycling, she's like, "Where did all these come from?" And so for someone who's already confused and their brain is working extra hard to try to manage what's going on, having alcohol in their system can be really disruptive and really dangerous. So when we moved her out here, we recognized that her drinking wine really at all was a problem, but she was in the habit, right, of every day having a glass of wine or two in the evening. So we discovered non-alcoholic wine, and we had 5 or 6 empty bottles of Pinot Grigio, and we would decant it into the Pinot Grigio bottles and put it back in her fridge. And so those empty bottles were like gold to us, like try to make sure you find them, don't let them get recycled. um, and it worked. She had the comfort of having a glass of wine, but wasn't wasn't actually drinking wine, and so that worked well for her. And then when she moved in with us, the label on the wine started to seem less important, and so we now order it by the case, and it actually tastes pretty good. The brand name is Free, and it's alcohol removed wine. So I don't know what the difference in the process is, but somehow the alcohol removed products taste much better and more authentic than some of the other ones that were made in with a different process. So there's other brands, but that one seems to be pretty readily available. And so she, will have a glass of wine or two or three, and it's it's pretty benign for her. And we've noticed, as the longer she's lived with us, the less of a need she seems to have to drink at all. And I think it's because she's getting company and stimulation from us and doesn't need that sort of late afternoon, early evening friend in a glass of wine. The other challenge that we have is when we go to restaurants, right? She will very quickly, before we even get the menus, sometimes order a glass of wine. And and now that she hasn't had much alcohol, it hits her even harder, right? And so if she has one glass, that's fine, and that usually goes okay. If she has a second or third glass of wine, then the evening is really challenging and difficult for her and for us. She gets much more confused, very unstable on her feet. Can get much more emotional about what is she doing with her life, and it really can be difficult for all of us. But she'll suck down that first glass of wine pretty fast, and then, by the time we're ordering food, she'll be ready to order her second glass of wine. So what I've started doing, and it works quite well, and I haven't found anyone who hasn't been receptive, is after that, after we first sit down and get situated, I will get up and go to the bathroom, but I'll just track down our waiter, and say, so the woman sitting to my right, the elderly woman, she has dementia, and she is going to continue to order glasses of wine. And if you could please just say, "You bet, I'll bring it right over," and then never bring it. Um, that would be really helpful to us. And they all are just like, "Oh, wow, thank you for letting me know, and I'd be happy to do that." And sometimes she doesn't even end up ordering the second, but if she does, they just say, "Yep, sure." And then she forgets, and if she goes through that a couple times, it's fine. But usually by the time food is there and she's eating, she's perfectly happy with that. So for people who are drinking beer, instead, this brand Athletic is just about everywhere, and they have a great variety of um, different beers. This is a hazy IPA. They have lagers and whatnot, and it tastes really good. So, just some thoughts and some ideas about how to navigate the use of alcohol. I think, as with anything with someone with living with dementia, if you turn it into a conflict, right, and tell them you shouldn't drink wine, you shouldn't be drinking, it's bad for you, you have dementia. Those conversations, for us anyway, usually don't go well. So if you can just find a way around the conversation and put up some safety barriers that exist, but the person that you're caring for doesn't even necessarily need to know that that's happening, I think that's the best strategy, because um, they get that sense of independence and they're making decisions, and yet you are aware that you're providing the help and support that they may not recognize that they need, and trying to convince them that they need that help may turn into a whole nother conversation that you're maybe not ready or willing to have again and again. So those are some tips and strategies. There's lots of non-alcoholic beverages, mocktails. There's lots of ways to give your person a nice, refreshing beverage in the evenings, and it might help if you model as well, drinking something, that's seltzer or, soda and lime or something, and explore that journey with them. So anyway, I hope that's helpful, and cheers to you. Have a good day.